right, so now for our formal intro. Hello, everyone. I'm James Hargrove, Communication Director for US Indoor, and today is part three of our webinar series. You recall last year, the end of last year, we had two, I won't say back to back, but each month, this being the third month we're doing this, we're excited to have Shelley Woodrow uh, as our lead presenter today. Shelley, we have a history with US or has a history with US Indoor. She actually spoke at our conference back in 23 in Vegas, which Shelley, I believe that's where you're from or where you at least live right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. Uh-huh.
Awesome. And she knocked it out of the park for us. It was a very well received keynote and presentation. And we said it's been far too long since we've had her back. So why not have it in this format, this webinar format? So we appreciate all of you who attended and for those who will be watching this beyond the fact. So with no further ado, let me just hand off to Shelley to kick things off. She's got a lot of content prepared for us today. It'll be very interactive. We encourage everyone to unmute yourselves. Keep the cameras on or off. It's up to you. Or at the very least, ask your questions or make your responses in the chat. I'll constantly monitor that through today's 45, 50 minutes or so. And there will be some Q&A at the end if needed, but feel free to ask questions anytime. So with that, Shelley, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, James. Thank you, Chuck. I really enjoyed our time together 3 years ago. I cannot believe it's been 3 years. Wow. So, welcome everyone, and thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out to work on your business. When you're learning, you're working on your business. So, thank you for being here. And so, I want to kick us off and help this to be really interactive. I've got a couple of objectives that I want to make sure that we hit today, and then we'll talk about how we do it with the agenda. But number one, I want to answer all of your questions. And whether we have time to do that today or not depends on how interactive you are. So I'll put my contact info in the chat. So please feel free, if we don't get to all of your questions today, to please reach out to me afterwards. You can contact me via phone, email, my website, however you want to engage. But I'm happy to have further dialogue after today if we don't answer everything for you. So that's number one objective. And then number two is to share with you some tools that create a context for getting the things you want from your business. And that's running on EOS, the toolbox tools you'll get exposed to today. So you'll see those. I want you to know what's there, and if depending on what resonates with you, you can use these tools starting next week in your business. So those are my couple of objectives. The agenda that I've put together for us looks like this. So we'll check in a moment. We always start, quote unquote, a session with a check-in. So just so we can get connected. And so we'll start there. I want to learn a little bit more about all of you. And then I'm going to ask you to do a little interactive 1 minute exercise where I want to start getting you to think about, what do you really want from your business? So more on that in a few minutes. Then I'll walk you through the EOS toolbox and the tools that we use to strengthen 6 key components in your business. And I'll talk about why that's important. And then bottom line is, there's all kinds of ways to engage and interact with EOS, whether you work with somebody like me, an EOS implementer and coach, or you do it on your own, or you just pick and choose tools that you like. So lots of ways to engage to help you get what you want from your business, get a grip on your business. And that's the name of our presentation today. So without any further ado, where I want to start is just with a check-in. And if you could use the chat for me here so people can see your answers, me included, excuse me. If you can put in the chat, couple things. The first thing is, how familiar are you with EOS? Are you new to EOS, mildly familiar, or very familiar? So if you can just type in there, how familiar are you with EOS? That'll help me know to stay high level or go deeper. How familiar are you with EOS? Very little or nothing about EOS, moderately familiar, or very familiar. So if we could start with that interaction. Mildly familiar, Nick. Thank you. Traction sitting unread on my bookshelf. Right on. Thank you for being honest. Yes. Who else? How familiar are you with EOS? Same. Angela, thank you. Mildly familiar. All right. James or Jamie, unfamiliar. Same with Sean. All right. Barely familiar. Jody, thank you. All right. I don't see any other responses. So here's the big question. When you think about your business, excuse me, when you think about your business, what do you really want from your company, your business that you're not getting today? So something you're not getting, but it's on your radar. You want it out into the future. Maybe it's 5 to 30 years out. We set 10-year targets in EOS. So if you think about the one big thing that you want that you don't have today, share if you would share those with us. That would be great. And we don't have to do that in chat. If you want to just shout them out. What do you want from your business that you're not getting today? So I'm seeing engagement. Yes, short to midterm. I'm assuming that's employee engagement,
Well,
James.
I'll verbally, clarify. It's just in getting people, both members and non-members, to engage with our content. As communication director for US Indoor, I'm pumping out quite a bit of, content across our socials, emails. It's just not getting the traction
Mm,
that we would like, and the whole team, Chuck and I, even Mel and everyone, we've all brainstormed on ways to kind of break that barrier. It's a tough cookie to crack. So,
yeah. Yeah.
more needs to be done there.
Yep. So it deals with people. Yep.
Mhm.
Who else? What do you want from your business that you're not getting today? This will help anchor us when we get into the tools, if you have an idea of what that is. What do you want that you don't have? You can think about what do you want to be as an organization, as a company? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? What's a big, hairy, audacious goal? Influence, Nick. Yeah,
I'll add a
influence.
little context too. We're a
Yeah,
franchise
please.
business, so you know, I'm not the one running programs. I'm helping people run better programs. So being able to influence in the way to really help them develop their own systems and processes and execute on the mission that we have everywhere, not just within one location.
Got it. Got it. Great. Who else is willing to share? Sean, thank you. As a company to be more proactive instead of reactive. Yeah, that's very common to get ahead of things, right? To be out in the future more often than not. Any others? Who's willing to share? You guys are being shy today. All right. Well, you keep thinking about this. And maybe it's not a question you can answer today. Empowering others. Thank you. But think about that because if this becomes really a guiding light when you start to flush this out, what do you want from your business that you aren't getting today? And then you can, from there, create a 10-year target or a long range target that's 5 to 30 years out. So I'm going to keep us moving. I'm going to get out of the chat here for a minute. So that's our check-in. It's just to get you thinking about that as we go throughout our presentation here. You can add to that if you think of something along the way. So I'll keep us moving. Why are my slides not moving? Okay, so a little background for those of you that don't know anything about EOS or are mildly familiar. EOS was created back in 2005. And this was started by a gentleman named Gino Wickman. He wrote the book Traction right behind me and has created EOS worldwide. And since that time, now there are 3 million copies of Traction sold. There are a lot of companies around the world running on EOS, over 30,000 right now. His backstory was he was an entrepreneur, has been an entrepreneur all his life since age 21. At age 25, he was brought in to run his family business, found it was in need of a turnaround, and worked with the leaders to turn that company around over 3 years, ran it for 7, and then ultimately decided to retire from that organization. During that same time, he also became one of the Detroit's EO chapter, Entrepreneurs Organization's original chapter members. And working with those other members, he just found that he had a real knack and passion for the art and science of running a truly great entrepreneurial company. So when he retired, he decided to follow that knack and passion full time. When he made that decision, he began cobbling what we know today together as EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is just a simple set of practical tools, a complete holistic system that helps you manage and mobilize human energy in one direction to get everybody on the same page, rowing in one direction. Since Gino created EOS, there's now 900 of us, EOS implementers from around the globe, and we collectively have conducted over 300,000 full day sessions with almost 30,000 companies or organizations. And what we do when we work with you is we help you get better at three things we call vision, traction, and healthy. Vision just means getting everybody in your organization 100% on the same page with where your company's going and how you plan to get there. That's the traction side, where we instill discipline and accountability and execute on that vision day in and day out. And healthy just means working with leaders to help you become more open, honest, healthy, such that you're you really enjoy spending time with each other. So vision, traction, healthy. The kinds of organizations we work with are entrepreneurial. Most have 10 to 250 employees. The leaders are growth oriented, open minded. They might be frustrated. They're in some sort of pain. They want more than they're getting today. And they're willing to be open, honest, and vulnerable with themselves and the people around them. And they're more afraid of the status quo than they are of change. So that's a little bit about EOS. My background is that I spent many years, my entire life, running businesses, starting at age 19 when I opened One Potato Two in the Fashion Show Mall here in Las Vegas. And from that point, I've been running multi-million dollar companies my entire life and running my own business on EOS. So I got introduced to EOS back in 2018, became an EOS implementer in 2019, and since that time I've conducted, I'll hit my 400th session next month, full day session with clients, and I'm also a coach for EOS worldwide, helping new implementers do what I do. So I love nothing more than helping leaders grow and develop such that they can replace themselves, and love helping business owners run great businesses. So that's why it excites me to be here with you guys today. Thank you again to US Indoor and Chuck and James for having me back. And so let me get into some of the reasons why people run on EOS. So if you guys could just open your mics, I would just love to hear from you. What are some of the pain points in your business that you deal with on a day-to-day basis? Every business has issues. We say if you're a business and claim you have no issues, that's your first issue. So we know, but we all deal with issues, challenges, obstacles, and frustrations. And so I'd love to just to hear from some of you. Just shout out, what are some of the things that frustrate you in your world?
I'll just go ahead and say, like, having to be the decision maker on everything, it seems. So, like, whether it's a player suspension or a building repair, um, just having to be the one to deal with it.
Yeah. Sean, it's so true. I mean, the goal for a lot of leaders is to have a self-managed company. And if you have to be that decision maker on everything, it's really hard to get there, right? And
Hmm.
let go of things.
Well,
Thank you for sharing that.
you walk in every day with a plan and just get derailed. So then that just puts you behind, or creates stress, I guess, would be the way to put it.
Yeah. When you have to deal with the urgent, not important, it
Yeah.
creates stress. It's a fire drill, right?
Hmm.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. Who else? What are some of the things that frustrate you?
I would just say communication or lack of communication, just with team members and higher ups sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. That two-way back and forth communication. And it gets more complicated the more people you add. I see you nodding. That resonates, Nick. Yeah. Anybody else? What other things frustrate you in your business? Well, I'll share the most common that we hear.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'll, sorry, I
Go,
didn't mean to
Sean. Yeah.
interrupt,
No, go ahead.
but I would even say little things like things not getting done because it's not officially their responsibility. Um, so this isn't a real example necessarily, but like if there's a box of popcorn sitting on the middle of the floor, since people will just walk past it instead of picking it up.
Yeah, it's that
If that
not
makes
my
sense.
job mentality, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that a lot as well. Here are some of the frustrations that cause people to say, hey, I want some help. So the first is that there's this feeling that you're losing control of the business. So Sean, that might tie to what you were talking about, where the business is running you, not the other way around. And
Hmm.
so EOS will help you get a grip on your business. That's the name of our presentation here today. Another frustration is lack of profit, not enough to the bottom line or none at all, worse yet. Another one is people, this is the most common frustration we hear day in and day out. We don't have the right people, we don't have them in the right seats, the labor market's tough. Fill in the blanks around people, but this is the number one issue we hear across the board, across industries, are people issues. Hitting the ceiling's another one. So this is this feeling that you have been humming along, everything's great, and all of a sudden, bam, you hit a ceiling, you get stuck, and you're having a hard time breaking through that ceiling. And then another one is nothing's working. So you're putting in the time, you're putting in the work, you're putting in the effort, just it's just not coming together. So any of those frustrations that you all shared and what you see on the screen, if you feel those from time to time, you're just normal. So just know that those are real and and you're not alone. And so we can help with that by helping to simplify everything, keeping it simple. So here's where I want to introduce you to the EOS model. There's three components to EOS. There's the EOS model, the EOS toolbox, you'll see a lot of those today, and the EOS process, how we do what we do with clients. And so the first a discovery that Gino made is that there are six key components to your business, to any business. And to the extent, discovery number two, you can strengthen each of those components, you're going to get those things that you wrote down. You're going to get the things you want from your business. Because when these components are weak, it's really hard to get things done, let alone get what you want. So I want to introduce them to you. The vision component is the first key component, and this is simply about getting everybody on the same page in your business around where you're going and how you're going to get there, all of your employees. Second is people. This is about determining what do right people look like in my company, and are they in the right seats? Right people, right seats. You've got to have both to execute on that vision. The third key component is data. This is about running your business on objective information rather than opinions and feelings and egos, which sometimes drive decision making in entrepreneurial companies. And we know when your vision people and data components are strong, you're going to have a lucid, transparent organization, which means you'll have issues, and those issues bubble to the surface, and that we celebrate, because the issues component's about getting great at solving your issues as they arise, knocking them down, making them go away forever. The fifth key component is the process component, or process, depending on how you say it. And that is about systemizing your business, creating efficiencies, scalability, making it easier to manage, making it more profitable and more fun to run and work in. And then finally, traction is the sixth key component. So this is about bringing that vision down to the ground and executing on it day in and day out. Gino's quote here, vision without traction is hallucination. And in my experience, that's totally true. You've got to be able to execute on a vision no matter how great it is. It all comes down to execution, thus traction. So those are the 6 key components. We actually measure journey and progress when you start running on EOS on this journey to 80% or 100% strong. Our goal is to get each component 80% strong or better by using the tools and disciplines. And we know that most clients that start this process are somewhere around 20% strong in each of the components, succeeding in spite of themselves. So when you embark on an EOS journey, you're on a journey to strengthen each of these 6 key components so you can start working towards getting that thing that you want. So that's the model. Those are the 2 discoveries. And within each of the 6, there are 2 tools and disciplines that strengthen the component. And those are what I want to introduce you to. But before I jump into that, any questions so far, anyone? Everybody good? Okay. Please interact with me if you have questions. You don't have to save them to the end. The vision component is about 2 disciplines. The first is answering 8 questions together, starting at the leadership team level of your business, answering 8 questions to help get you aligned on your vision and plan. And we keep the answers to those 8 questions in a tool we use. This is a super powerful tool that you can download and use starting this afternoon. It's free and downloadable on the EOS Worldwide website. It's called the Vision Traction Organizer, or VTO for short. We do not do any 30 to 50 page strategic plans in EOS. This is the way we create a vision and plan, by answering 8 questions. And it's simple and it works. And so I'll walk you through those in a moment. This is the vision side. There's 5 questions on the vision side of the document. So when the leaders talk about these things and decide on what they are, they go here on the vision side. And then this is the traction side. This is how the vision is achieved, as this is defined collectively as a leadership team. So 8 questions are the first discipline. The first tool is the VTO, or Vision Traction Organizer for short. And I'll walk you through these 8 questions high level, just to give you an overview on what they are. Starting with core values. So how many of you have core values? Can you just say yes or no? I can't see all of you, but anybody have core values? Nick, you have core values? All right, I don't see everybody. And a lot of you are off camera. Okay, so core values are the traits and the characteristics and the guiding principles, the behaviors that you want your people, your employees, to consistently be able to exhibit. And so we discuss and define and flush out what are your core values. They're discovered and defined. And so once you know what they are, we're looking for 3 to 7 core values. We discover them, flesh them out, define them. Once they're defined and you align around what you mean by those, you can use core values to attract talent, people that fit your definition of right people in your business, and repel people that aren't a great fit. So when defined and discovered, the purpose of core values are to help you attract talent, hire, onboard, reward, recognize, and even fire people if they're not a fit. So core values are used and brought to life in your business. They become a living and breathing tool for you forever. The second question is, what is your core focus? So core values are who you are as a business. Core focus is what you are. So this has been called mission statement, vision statement, hedgehog concept, you name it. We just call it core focus. The intent of core focus is to really clarify for your employees why you exist. What is your purpose, cause, or passion? And what do you love to do? What are you driven to be best in the world at in your business? What is your niche? So your why and your what coupled together define what your core focus, your sweet spot is. And the intention here for core focus is to have an internal decision-making vetting mechanism that if you want to acquire a company or you want to bring on a new partner, if you can vet those decisions through this lens to see if they fit, if it fits you, if it stays, if it causes you to stay in your sweet spot, and if it's about to take you off your game, you might want to reconsider it. But this is a very powerful internal tool for you and your employees, which becomes that internal decision-making vetting mechanism. So core values, who you are, core target, what you are, 10-year target is where are you going long term? What's that one thing that you want? What's the big goal for your organization? 10 years out, ideally, you can change the time frame. 5 to 30 years is fine. You just want to put a year by which you'll achieve that target in the target itself. And that really helps you and your people align and allows you all to row in one direction towards achieving that 10-year target when it's defined and clarified for your business. So moving on, marketing strategy is how you get there. So this is the fourth question of the 8. So marketing strategy just says, let's define our ideal target market prospect and the message that will resonate with that ideal target market. So we identify from a demographic, geographic, and psychographic makeup what and where are your target market clients or people located. And then 3 uniques, proven process, and guarantee are part of the message that would resonate with that target market. So 3 uniques are just 3 things that make you unique, different, and better than your competition. Proven process is a visual depiction of how you take care of your clients or customers. And guarantee is a pledge or promise that when it's time for them to decide on you or somebody else, you might offer up a guarantee that reduces the no's and gets you more yeses when you've identified your ideal target market and that guarantee resonates with them. So core values, who you are, core focus, what you are, 10-year target, where you're going, marketing strategy, how you get there. And then 3-year picture says we're sitting here in 2026, just starting the year. So we've got all of 26, 27, 28. So by 12/31/28, what does revenue look like in your company? This is where a 3-year picture you want to dream with your people. What does revenue look like? What's our profit goal? What are some of our measurables look like? And that question there that says, what does it look like? If you can align with your people around what is the company that you see? What do you want your company to be, do, or have in 3 years, 3 short years from now? What does it look like? When you can crystallize that and paint a picture of that company that you all see together, 2 great things happen. The first is that you achieve that 3-year picture, that success rate goes up exponentially. And the second is it just sets you up for great 1-year planning. So we can then move to the traction side of the document. You've answered the 5 vision questions. 1-year plan just says, then what does 26 need to look like? What is our revenue, profit, and our measurables? And then you set 3 to 7 goals for this year, defining and aligning around what are the big things we've got to get done in 2026. And we say 3 to 7, not 25, 27. When everything's important, nothing's important. We say that a lot when we're implementing EOS. So you stay focused on the big things. When your 1-year plan is clear, then you can chunk it down and establish your quarterly rocks or your quarterly priorities. Same thing. Rocks are just priorities, but we can now say then what has to be true 90 days from now. We're sitting here in January. By April, what's our revenue, profit, and measurables need to be? And what priorities do we need to establish for the quarter that will help ensure we're on track to hit our 1-year plan by year end? Through it all, you will have issues, and that's normal. And we just keep a parking lot of your issues, your challenges, your problems, and your opportunities, things that you know you want to tackle, just not in this 90 days. So they go on your issues list, and they're there waiting for you when they become a priority for you to solve. Those 8 questions, when answered, you're ready to take that VTO tool to your company, to your organization, and share your vision with everybody. That's the recommendation. Show your people the answers to those 8 questions so they can internalize them, ask questions about your vision and plan. Ultimately, want to be a part of it and row in the same direction with you. So those 2 tools help us get to 100% strong in the vision component. I'm going to spend most of my time here and in people, but any questions so far, anyone on the vision component, VTO, the tool itself? Everybody still good? Okay. All right. People is the second one. We use the terms right people in the right seats, popularized by Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great, right people in the right seats. You've got to have both. We determine what right people mean in your business. So you get to decide what does that look like for you. We want to cut through all those terms like A players, superstars, and really define what does the definition of right people mean for my company? What does that look like? And so once you've fleshed out and discovered your core values, we have a beautiful tool that helps get you right people. And so you put your core values using this tool across the top. And again, this tool, like the VTO, is downloadable and free on the EOS Worldwide website. Put your core values across the top. These are EOS Worldwide core values, my core values. And then you put the names of the people you want to people analyze to ensure that they're a core value fit. So the tool works like this. If your employee Maria is most of the time humbly confident, she gets a plus. If Jalen is most of the time he is not, he gets a minus. And Amina, sometimes she is, sometimes she isn't. So you can rate each of your core values using plus, minus, plus, minus, and evaluate whether or not they can consistently exhibit these. This becomes a really great coaching tool if your people need help exhibiting these core values. It allows you to set a bar, your minimum acceptable standard that illustrates that your people are at or above your bar in core values. So it helps you get right people. It's also a great hiring tool. So if you're interviewing several people, you can people analyze those from the interviews and compare the ratings to each of your core values. So it becomes a really great coaching tool and hiring tool.
Shelley,
Right.
I have a question
Yeah.
about that.
Yep.
Would you only do it as plus minus or the plus minus combination, or could you do it like, let's say on a number basis, just to try to measure a little bit more specifically?
Yeah, it's a great question, Nick, and it's a common one sometimes. Gino, and we've asked Gino, why'd you choose plus, plus, minus? Sometimes, most of the time they do, most of the time they don't. And he said it was just easier instead of using numbers. And so you could use numbers as a substitute. You sure could, but we just teach it this way because that's the way that he designed it. But great question. Right seats are people that are great at their jobs. So they have the acquired skills, the abilities, the experience, the training to be great at their jobs. The tool we use to get you right seats is the accountability chart. And so here's where we just take a big step back and say, as we sit today, what does the right structure for our business look like 6 to 12 months out from now? Regardless of how it's being done today, let's create a tool, the accountability chart, that designs the right and best structure that takes us into the future. Let's do that first. Then let's decide within the seats on our bus, what are the 5 accountabilities that we want each seat owner to be accountable and responsible for? Then we put names in seats that match those abilities, match those 5 accountabilities within the seat. So we take a structure first, people second approach, which is very unique and sometimes uncomfortable, but it really is helpful to determine what do you need your business to be structured like to support you, your revenue growth, your goals as you go forward. And so this is a great tool to do that with. So the accountability chart is based on the basic belief or assumption that there are just 3 major basic functions in your business, in any business: a marketing and sales function for how you create demand and deliver that and turn that demand into orders, an operations function or 2 or 3, depending on how you deliver your products and services. That's where it happens in ops. a finance function for managing and watching money flow in and out of your business. Three basic major functions. We also contend there's an integrator in every business. This is the person, the leader that runs the day-to-day, that beats the drum in your business, that holds everyone accountable, that orchestrates and implements all these moving parts, marketing, sales, ops, and finance. So they're your runner of the day-to-day. We can customize your accountability chart in two ways. At the marketing, sales, ops, and finance level, sometimes marketing and sales breaks into two separate distinct functions. Ops sometimes breaks into 1, 2, 3 functions in terms of the way you deliver on your products and services. And sometimes finance will have an HR or an IT component. There's always an integrator, but we customize those for you. There's always an integrator. And then we determine, do you also have a visionary, which is a high-level leader that likes to stay at 30,000 feet, a lot of times is the founder or the owner of the business. They come to every meeting with 20 ideas. They're your creative problem solvers. They like to try on a lot of things for size, which can sometimes cause chaos in the business. So if you do have a visionary, you also have an integrator. So you want to make sure you crystallize in your accountability chart what are each responsible for so that your visionary doesn't cause chaos in your business. We love visionaries. And that's their superpower, but the integrator can ground them and have a great partnership there. So to complete your accountability chart, you just want to decide on what's the seat we need on our bus. What are the 5 accountabilities within that seat? And then we put a name in the seat that match those accountabilities. So as an example, if you have a marketing seat you're hiring for, these are the 5 accountabilities you want that seat owner to be accountable for. So to put a name in seats, you want to make sure that you get 3 yeses to GWC. Does the candidate get these 5 accountabilities in the marketing seat? In other words, are they genetically encoded? Are they at the DNA level? Do they really understand this seat? Do they want it? Do they really want it? You don't have to overpay them or micromanage them. They really want it. And then do they have the capacity to do it, the acquired skills? Do they have the experience and the training and the education? Do they have what they need to do the job? So when you have 3 yeses to GWC, that is non-negotiable, by the way, in EOS. You want to, before you give somebody a seat, make sure they GWC the seat. But now after you've created your your accountability chart, you can come back to your people analyzer. You've already people analyzed for core values, the 3 candidates we have here, and then you can add GWC across the top, and this becomes a really powerful tool for coaching and hiring that says, in this scenario, Maria is a great fit. She's at or above our bar for core values. She GWCs the seat, 3 yeses. So she would be a very strong candidate for you to make an offer to. You can also then cascade this discipline down beyond the leadership team and create an accountability chart for your whole team, your whole company. When you use these tools and follow this process, you will experience a couple different kinds of people issues. The first is that you have the right person in the wrong seat. So they fit your core values, but they're in the wrong seat. And so hopefully in that scenario, they're a great company fit. You can find the right seat that they can consistently execute in. The other one is if you have the wrong person in the right seat. So this one's tough because typically these are your high performers, maybe even your superstars. They're in the right seat, but they're chipping away at the culture. They're hurting. They're not living up to your core values. So in either one of these cases, my urging to you is that you deal with these situations and take the appropriate action, because to get to 100% strong in the people component, you've got to have right people in the right seats. Both get you to 100% strong. Any questions you all so far? I'm going to go pretty quick through the rest of these. So data is about numbers. This is about objective information. Great quote here from Jim Barksdale, former Netscape CEO. I love this quote. If we have data, let's look at the data. If all we have are opinions, let's go with mine. So data can help you really see if your business is on or off track. So we start with creating a tool called the company scorecard. This is at the leadership team level. And we work through what are the 5 to 15 weekly activity-based measurables that will tell you whether your business is on or off track. Here's some examples there. Once you've determined what are your 5 to 15 numbers that tell you that, if we know what the actuals are every week, we know if our business is on or off track. You can set a weekly activity-based goal, determine who owns each of these, so who's the driver of accountability in each of these. And then the scorecard is covered with 13 weeks at a glance, so you can see patterns and trends develop. And if anything is veering off track, you've got time in the quarter to put it back on track. Does that make sense, everybody? Following? Okay. So that's our first discipline there. The second is that when you've got that accountability chart created and crystallize the role for everybody, every seat on your bus, then you can give everybody in your world a measurable one number that they're accountable for keeping on track for you week in and week out. It lets them contribute. It helps them to feel like they're adding value. And that is a great way to help ensure your scorecard metrics, your measurables are hit week in and week out. So that's what gets us to 100% strong there in data.
Hey, Shelley, sorry, can I ask another question on data?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there any recommendation as to how many measurables should be on your scorecard? Is there such thing as too many measurables?
Yes, yes. Our magic number, Nick, is 5 to 15. 5 to 15 numbers. Yep. Yeah, not to say, I mean, you'll have month-end reports, your P&Ls and that kind of thing that measure past and record history, but these are really weekly activity-based numbers, which can come from sales and marketing, operations, or finance. But they're numbers you can affect in the quarter. So you can take action on if they're veering off track.
Great, thanks.
You bet. All right, issues component is about two things, keeping that issues list that I mentioned, and then using our issue solving track that we teach all of our clients to solve your issues. So here's how it works. You come together each week, you have a list of issues. You dig in and you prioritize what are our top 3 issues we need to solve this week. And then you identify issue number 1, what's the issue? What are we solving? And agree so everybody's clear on what you're solving. Discuss the possible options, the action plans, the solutions that will make that issue go away. And then land on a 7-day action plan with an owner that will solve that issue. What happens is even great leadership teams struggle with this. They get caught in discussing the heck out of things, never really getting to the root, and then never really getting to a solution. And so we want to be really disciplined around this and then determine, starting with our top issues, our top 3 every week, let's agree to what we're solving by identifying. Let's discuss briefly without politicking or beating a dead horse. And then let's move to a 7-day action item that becomes the solution. You can do this with all of your issues, starting with your most important. And if you have time left, you can reprioritize your next 3. But following that track and creating that to do that action item, the expectation is 90% of those to-dos are done by the next week. So they fall off because you've completed those. So if you've got 9 to-dos out of 10, you're at 90% and you're moving your business, advancing it forward week in and week out within the quarter. Really powerful staple of the tools in our toolbox. So that's the issues component, and that helps us get to 100% strong there. Moving to process. The process component is about systemizing your business. So this is about taking a look at what are the handful, the 6 to 10 core processes that truly makes your business run. So these are things like a people or an HR process, a marketing or a sales process, an operations process, maybe a couple of those, a customer or client service process, an accounting, a finance process. And so we determine what are they for you. We create a playbook that's your way of doing business, conducting your core processes. So that becomes your table of contents. And then you create a 1 to 2 page process. We take a high level entrepreneurial approach to documenting your processes, just the major steps. So we document 20% of the major steps that get you 80% of the result. You can do that for every one of your core processes. Isidore Sharp, founder of Four Seasons, says, systemize the predictable so you can humanize the exceptional. Sean, this ties back to what you were talking about in the beginning, that if you're in fire drills all day, it's sometimes solved when you can create processes that your people can follow. So we document and simplify your major core processes, just documenting the major steps. And then we want to get those core processes followed by all. So anybody in your organization that touches even one step in the process, you want to train, measure, manage. LMA stands for leadership and management equals accountability, and update those core processes every year. So they're always fresh and simplified and updated as needed. But the key to get them followed is to make sure you train your people once you've established them. So all of that will create efficiency and scalability in your business. And that's what we're looking for here. This component can really drive value for your business as well. So that's the fifth key component. The sixth is traction. So this is where we bring that vision down to the ground and execute on it using two tools we call rocks and meetings. Rocks are those 90-day world priorities that we set every quarter, every 90 days. We set 3 to 7 company rocks and 3 to 7 rocks for every leader on the team. And what that does is it perpetuates a 90-day world. So you're running like heck in your business every 90 days, setting those rocks, achieving those at 80% or higher. At the end of 90 days, you come up and you look back and you see how you did. You recheck your vision, making sure you're still on the same page, because sometimes you're not. Once you are, you set new rocks and you go execute on those, advancing your business every 90 days towards that 10-year target. That creates the 90-day world. Within it, we teach you the meeting pulse and this level 10 meeting agenda that helps you run great productive meetings where you solve your issues every week. So our meeting criteria looks like this. A great meeting starts and ends on time. We use Vince Lombardi's early is on time is late. So starts and ends on time. What a concept. Happens same day and time every week and follows this agenda that I'll teach you. You can start running these. If this resonates with you, you can run this meeting starting next week. And it takes a little discipline. It feels clunky at first, but it's super powerful. So here's how it works. You set aside 90 minutes a week. You may not need it, but you set aside 90 minutes a week where you and the leaders on your team can be together. You start with good news, which is our segue. So one piece of personal and professional good news around the table. We then review each of those scorecard measurables, just reporting only, declaring, are they on track or off track? Those are the only two acceptable answers. No talking, just on track, off track. Then we check in on your rocks, your big priorities. Are they on track or off track? And then your people, are your customers, employees happy? Is anything to report there, on track or off track? Anything off track in these three areas, you drop down to your issues list. Then we insert a to-do list from last week. So this is where we capture from last week's issue solving in this meeting, the to-dos that came out of it. And so now we're driving accountability to say, all right, we had 10 to-dos last week. We want to make sure at least 9 of those are done this week. And so you just ask the owner of each of those to-dos, read the to-do, is it done or not done? And those are the only two acceptable answers there. So if the top portion of your meeting is going well, you're going to get through this in sometimes 9-10 minutes versus 25 minutes if you practice this discipline, because what you want to create is more time to solve your issues. So you have at least 60 minutes. But if you can save time on the reporting only, being really disciplined about not discussing there, you'll have more than 60 minutes each week to solve your key issues. So you dig in and you prioritize your 1, 2, and 3 and IDS your issues. With 5 minutes remaining in the meeting, you must move to conclude so that you end on time. You don't want this meeting to collapse every other thing you have going on the rest of your day. And so conclude just means you're going to recap the new to-dos that came out of issue solving this week. You determine if you have anything to share beyond the leaders in this room. And if so, you create a to-do around that. What are we sharing? Who's sharing and by when? And then you move to conclude by rating the meeting so that you can check in on each other and improve the caliber of your meeting week in and week out. Super powerful. I mentioned 300 or 1,000 full day sessions, roughly 30,000 companies running on EOS. They all use this meeting agenda. You can use it too. It's super powerful. It takes some practice to get used to the format, but it's super powerful. So those two tools in combination get us to 100% strong there. So I just threw a lot at you. That's how we get results using the EOS model, strengthening the EOS model, getting each of those 6 key components to 100% strong. Using the tools, that's the second part of EOS, is the toolbox. So I just covered these high level for you. And then I'll show you the process in just a moment. But if you start with, you might be saying, oh my gosh, that's a lot. Where do I start? This is where to start. If this resonates with you, you can create a vision and plan by answering those 8 questions with your team on the Vision Traction Organizer, or VTO. You can create an accountability chart so you can start to look at the seats on your bus. Are they the right ones that take us into the future? Do we have the right reporting structure and the right accountabilities? You can set rocks for the next 90 days, those big priorities for all your leaders. Run that meeting, that L10 meeting, and then create and use that scorecard. So lots of ways to plug into EOS. You've got EOS Worldwide, and all of these are free and downloadable on that website. There's a whole array of Traction library books. I think we're up to about 15 books now. So for different audiences, but they speak to different parts and different audiences within EOS. You can work with an implementer like me to help you run your business on EOS if you want to coach. This is the third part of EOS. This is the process. I won't spend a lot of time here. This is a proven way that we have to take care of our clients. When I work with my clients, my job is to help them as their trainer, facilitator, and coach get started on EOS, build the foundation over the first 3 session days, creating their customized tools and their vision and plan. And then I run their quarterlies and annuals for as long as they need me. A typical engagement is 2 years on average, but I'm here longer or shorter. Some clients stay shorter, longer. Some stay forever. I still have some of my original clients. So this is what it looks like. Just know there's a proven way to do what we do. And our job is to get you graduation ready so you can do this on your own. So that's the process. And so what I'll leave you with, and as we conclude, we've got a few more minutes here, is the importance of choosing an operating system. So if you're not familiar with an operating system like EOS, just know there are others out there. I don't research them. I don't really care about those because this is the one I love and I know that works. So this is the one I use. But choose one so that you get what you want. So my wish for you is you get that thing you want that you wrote down or you're still thinking about maybe. But these are ways to get you there. I see it day in and day out with my clients. I also do complimentary 90-minute meetings. So these are discovery meetings. If you want to investigate what an EOS journey might look like in your world, reach out to me and I'm happy to do that for you. I can do that online or in person. So let me know if you want more there. And with that, I just want to open it up for questions. But before I do, I just want to tell you that this is a book in the EOS Traction Library as well called the EOS Life. And its premise is my wish for you, and that is that you get to do what you love with people you love, making a huge difference in the universe, being compensated appropriately with time to pursue other passions. And that's what I help my clients get to, is living that EOS life. So